Okay guys, welcome back. So in the last video we're able to set up our cashier payments and we know it's working, but now I want to run a little bit of subscriptions test because we're going to be introducing the concept of premium lessons in application. Okay, that's the whole point of having subscriptions, right? So I have a simple subscriptions test class right here, and I simply created that in my feature. So I have a new subscriptions test, and what we're going to be doing is running a couple of tests. And before I actually start running tests, I'd like us to talk about something. First of all, we want to have some premium lessons. So if a lesson is premium, then the user should not be able to watch it if he does not have a subscription. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is we want to run tests, meaning we would have to subscribe a user. And Stripe or Cashier, what it does is that it takes the user's information and then it makes an API call to Stripe, and then it subscribes the user to a plan, and then it comes back, and if everything was successful, then it now subscribes the user to a plan on our database. Okay, so Stripe knows he subscribed, and then our database also knows the user is subscribed. But when we are testing, what we want to do is we don't want to make an API call. We don't want Laravel Cashier to communicate with our database. So simply I want us to talk about how to fake the Stripe subscription in this video. Okay, so for that I'm going to be creating a method on this class called fake subscription, okay, or fake subscribe. And what this method is going to do is it's going to get the authenticated user or any user that we pass in right here, and then it's going to subscribe that user to a plan. Okay, but remember, when it subscribes a user to a plan on the Stripe server, I'm talking about Laravel Cashier. When Laravel Cashier subscribes a user to a plan on the Stripe server, it will now save the details of that user or the plan for that user on our database. So we have this subscriptions class, and the user has a subscription relationship with the subscriptions class or the model. And when we want to create a subscription for a user, we could use that. So we can say user subscriptions, and we can call the create method. Okay, so remember, I understand this because in our billable trait right here, which our user class is using, we can search for subscription. This has many subscription class, so it has a relationship with the subscription class. Therefore, to create a new subscription for a user, we just need to call this subscriptions create, and then we can pass in the details for that subscription, like the name, which could be yearly, and maybe the Stripe ID. Now, for us to know exactly what happens, I'll just open up PHP Artisan Tinker, and we have one user with a subscription. So I'll just get the user, which is podcast user first, and this first user has a subscription, okay, because we subscribed him to a subscription in the last video. So I'll just get all his subscriptions. Sorry, I should be using you. Okay, and now if you check out his subscription, it has a name, it has a Stripe ID. So right here we need to pass in a fake Stripe ID. So let's just say fake Stripe ID. Remember, it's just a string. And then we need to pass in the Stripe plan. So remember, we're just faking this so that we don't need to communicate with our Stripe server. So Stripe plan, and this is going to be the yearly plan. Okay, and then the quantity would be 1. And I think that's all we need. Okay, so now let's create a basic test. And this test is going to be, for example, public function test. A user without a plan can watch free lessons. Okay, for example. But what I want us to do here is to get a user, and we'll do this by saying factory create, and we'll create for a user class. And right here we'll just say this fake subscribe, and we'll pass in the user. Okay, so right here we're gonna die dump user subscribed, and the parameter here would be yearly. Okay, so what we're doing is we are creating a new user. This is our testing environment, and then we'll subscribe the user to this fake plan, and then we're gonna call the user subscribed method and pass in the yearly plan, and this method will simply check if the user is subscribed to this plan. Okay, so I'm gonna exit Tinker right here, PHP unit, and I'll filter to this test. Okay, so let's run that. and now we see true. Okay, so Laravel cashier is checking to see if the user is subscribed to the yearly plan, and it says true. Okay, so in our test, we can now use this method to subscribe the user to a fake plan and then run our test to make sure that if he's subscribed, he can watch a video, or if he's not subscribed, he can't watch a video. So let's walk through it again. First, we have to fake subscriptions so that we don't have to call Stripe all the time. So we have a fake Stripe method, fake subscribe method, and this method takes in the user and then it creates a subscription for the user. And this is exactly what Laravel Cashier does behind the scenes. But first, Laravel Cashier is going to communicate with Stripe, which we don't want. So in our testing environment, we don't want to communicate with Stripe. So we have a fake subscribe method and it subscribes a user to a fake plan. And we can now run our test. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Let's start running some tests concerning fake and free lessons in the very next episode.